I tell you what, it just does not stop with this guy. Deportations, trade wars, DOGE, women's sport, the Middle East, the velocity of the returned Donald Trump presidency is something to behold. It's like he's managed to turn a diet of Big Macs and 3 hours sleep into a juggernaut of change for the United States and a world that badly, frankly, needs it. Now, let's take a look at what's been going on for the past few days, shall we? Right now, the world is obsessing over Donald Trump's mooted and now slightly walked back takeover of the Gaza Strip. Hey, by the way, if he pulls that off, what should we call it? Magaza? Maybe Gaza-Lago? The possibilities are endless. But hey, seriously, while that takes center stage, there's something else, and frankly, I think something much bigger going on. Namely, a shutdown of and a deep dive into the activities of a little multi-billion-dollar operation known as the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID. Now, in the past week, Elon Musk and perhaps the most dynamic team of liberty-loving, unelected young men since the Founding Fathers have been charging through the government's databases on this, following through, and I'm going to explain in a moment why this is so important, following through on a promise Donald Trump made during the campaign.
Fourth, at the suggestion of Elon Musk, who has given me his complete and total endorsement. That's nice. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. It's very, very much appreciated. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations for drastic reforms. We need to do it. Can't go on the way we are now.
Can't continue on the way they're doing it. He was right then, and perhaps he did not know at the time quite how right he would turn out to be. Because since the Musk team, the DOGE team for Department of Government Efficiency, started going through the books, well, you would not believe the ways that U.S. taxpayer money is being torched. First, though, listen to this worker at USAID offices describe what happened when DOGE came in.
DOGE was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating.
Oh no! They took down their pride flags! Is this woman for real? And what books was she hiding? The Communist Manifesto? Anyway, here's a tiny example, but it gives you a flavor of the sort of quote-unquote aid that has gone through the offices of USAID and many other departments. The U.S. State Department, via USAID, decided that a great use of taxpayer funds would be, get this, a drag workshop in Ecuador.
Firmo de que son muy buenos estos espacios, ya que por lo menos Diálogo Diverso tiene muchos espacios como psicología, como medicina, todas las cosas que ellos puedan involucrar acá, lo van involucrando, van creando como ramos y así pueden apoyar a la comunidad LGBT y a la que no es LGBT.
Oh yeah, work it. Somehow, though, that cost $25,000 US in a country where the average income is a little over $1,300 a month. That's a lot of grift. Oh, sorry, I mean glitter. Now, charities and churches were big recipients, too, which may explain why there are so many left-wing lectures coming out of the pulpit these days. Remember that Episcopal bishopess who lectured the president after the inauguration about migrants? Turns out her church has a quote-unquote charity arm that is devoted to bringing in migrants, and they've trousered $53 million from the government. And it turns out, in fact, that the U.S. government has been paying a whole network of church-run NGOs to help bring in the millions of migrants that flooded across the border under Joe Biden. And it is hard to find a left-wing effort of the past 4 years, in fact, that hasn't been astroturfed with USAID, or rather taxpayer money. Like, for example, the U.S. government, through Anthony Fauci, of course, funded coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This was even before the Biden administration, and that is now thought to be the source of the COVID pandemic. I guess now it makes sense why the government was so keen to label lab leaks misinformation. Vigilant citizen researchers, meanwhile, have been pouring through open databases and finding that news outlets like Politico, the Associated Press, Reuters, and the New York Times have all been in on the grift in one way or another. USAID money has been discovered going to left-wing opposition groups in countries like Hungary and supporting various efforts to, quote-unquote, strengthen democracy, which we all know is code for dumping money into countries to make sure populists who run against globalist open borders type governments don't win. Investigative journalist Mike Schellenberger broke down just how sinister this is a couple of nights ago on Fox.
Nonetheless, this memo that he wrote relied heavily on a report done by an organization funded by USAID. In fact, its initial founding funding, I mean, now it's tens of millions of dollars, had gone into this group called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, a name that's not very memorable, OCCRP, but it was basically created as an extension of the State Department and then of USAID. And as you know, Jesse, this is very serious to be involved in an effort to do regime change at home, as we've been discovering as the files have come out with what Elon Musk has been doing. We know that USAID was really about regime change abroad. It was a kind of public-facing part, regime change operation like CIA, but not covert, more overt. Well, now you see a similar blowback, just like they did censorship abroad and brought censorship tools back home. They were doing this sort of thing abroad, creating a predicate, essentially, for Trump's impeachment.
And while there was, it has to be said, plenty of stuff in the USAID budget that would look like real charity work, digging wells, handing out mosquito nets, that sort of thing, what has been discovered is incredibly damning. Billions, tens of billions of dollars in taxpayers' money have been scooped off into a huge slush fund designed to pour money into the pockets of left-wing causes, undermine the will of the people at home and abroad, create the appearance of false consensus for progressive politics, and even in some cases has been used to attempt to change governments, even in the United States. Now, of course, the left has lost their mind about this. They're organizing protests saying DOGE is undemocratic and not what the people voted for. Well, I'm sorry, guys, but cutting unelected bureaucrats wasting money is not, as you would say, fascism. It is just the opposite. And more to the point, as I said at the top of this piece, it is exactly what the American people voted for.